Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Truth About Getting Results with Doug Dane. I would like to introduce you to Doug Dane, and here he is.
All right, Tyson, how you doing? Thanks for coming on. Welcome,
Yes.
everybody. I'm excited to go through this class with you, The Truth About Getting Results. Let me just get my camera set up here the way I want it. And we'll get going here. All right. Well, listen, I've been thinking about this class for quite a while now. It's been on my mind. I was listening to a lesson with my mentor, Bob Proctor, and I was driving around thinking, I got to really talk to people about the truth about getting results and really kind of get to the facts here. And so I'm excited to take you through this short live class, and I hope that it helps you. I'm committed and dedicated to try to get people to figure out what took me so long to figure out. And so, the problem we have is that life has become more complicated than ever, and getting ahead, seems harder, and it leaves people feeling frustrated, confused. You might be doubting yourself and worrying about your future. And I think that's just plain wrong. It doesn't have to be that hard. Now, one of the problems we got is motivation doesn't work if you're going in the wrong direction. And what I mean by that is there's so much access to information out there that's very motivating and it's very inspiring, and you kind of get your dopamine hit for the day, and it gets you fired up. But there's nothing worse than being all fired up if you're heading in the wrong direction. And so motivation doesn't work if you're going the wrong way, or maybe you're working on the wrong things. I find that a lot. People are working on the wrong things or the wrong problems when they're trying to get ahead. And so one of the things I want to talk to you about today is making sure that you're working on the right thing. So, I mean, silly example, if you want to build up bigger arms or bigger chest at the gym, you don't work on legs. You know what I mean? Silly example, but that's the idea. We got to make sure that we're working on the right things to get ahead, because motivation doesn't work. It's not enough. And there's so much information that's coming at you, and that's available to you. It's actually doing more harm than good. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But we have access to so much information through our phones and through internet and through live classes like this, whether you're on YouTube or you're watching live here or you're watching the replay. And there's a lot of great content out there, but there's so much coming at us from all kinds of different sources. It's almost difficult to know what to do, who to follow, who to listen to. And the other thing that got me frustrated is that there's so many promises online and in books about success and multiplying your income and going to 7 and 8 figures or 10xing this and 10xing that. But the truth is, you're not actually getting the facts on what it takes to actually improve your professional and personal life. And so I know I made it very, very complicated for a long, long time. And as I started to figure it out, I started to see how how simple it really, really is. And so for me, I just want to try to bring clarity to people and simplify this, because it doesn't have to be hard. So what if succeeding wasn't actually that hard, but it's been made difficult because it's so noisy online and through social media? What if actually you could succeed actually quite simply without so much struggle and strain and stress as the consequence? What if just there's some things that you're doing that you probably shouldn't be doing that's causing that confusion? What if maybe some of the sources of the information aren't the right sources of information for you? What if it actually is quite simple, and you could simplify it for yourself, that you could get ahead and succeed? So I want to tell you some facts here today. Listen, I know pretty much what most people want is they want time and money freedom. You go on a trip and you get on a plane and you have to walk through the front of the plane to get to the back of the plane, and you see people sitting there and you think, oh man, I'd sure like to I'd sure like to sit there. Or, maybe you talk about people, you talk about they're going on certain trips and you're not able to. I think we want some freedom to do the things that we want to do. And it actually seems more elusive than ever. We've definitely formed the habit of allowing what's going on outside to control how we're feeling on the inside. And so, again, with access to so much information and so much information coming at us that's impacting so many other people that have influence over us, or they're around us in our lives, at work or at home or friends or family or whatever. We've just gotten this habit of just, all this information is coming at us, and it kind of controls how we think. We react, we get upset, we get angry, we get scared, and we feed into a lot of stories and a lot of narratives, and it's very, very distracting. I'm not saying you should go bury your head in the sand and not pay attention or care what's going on in the world, but we've definitely formed the habit, with these things of just kind of, letting what's going on here or coming at us really control what's going on inside. What I mean by that is what you're feeling. So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're worried about your future, if you're struggling with, anxiety and depression, these sort of mental health challenges, what I've discovered is many people are causing those problems themselves. Now, they don't like to hear that. Some people take offense to that. But I say, just allow me to explain. And I'm going to show you why that might be happening for you or somebody. I'm just going to show you a quick little lesson here. But that's kind of the habit we're in, just allowing what's going on outside of us, what we're seeing, what we're hearing, watching the news, our own situation. Maybe you're in a situation you don't want to be in right now. Maybe you've lost your job, or your position got eliminated, or we've been through a difficult 2.5 years, and that could definitely have an impact. And I'm not minimizing your struggles if you're having them. I struggle a lot too. We all go through difficult times, but it's how we respond to those difficult times. Successful people aren't without problems. It's just how they go about handling those problems or solving those problems. A lot of people just don't feel they have a purpose or a meaning because they're just trying to sort of keep up with all the demands. And so, oftentimes people, they wake up in the morning and just don't really know where they're going. They're not very purposeful about their day. You can see them. They're kind of just wandering around, aimlessly through the day. Some people call them sheeple, or I heard a great quote is that, the average person tiptoes through life just hoping to make it safely to death. And so we got to get up with purpose and meaning. People doubt themselves more than ever, rather than questioning what's actually going on. And they start to question themselves. So I think too many people are actually doubting themselves and questioning themselves more than ever. They're not really questioning what they're doing. They're not really questioning what's coming at them. They're not really questioning too much of what's going on in the world. The first thing we do is we go and question ourselves. We think there's something wrong. I talk to people all the time. All week long, I'm talking to people, just trying to get the truth to them as to how they get the results, so they can get the results that they want. And very often they're looking in the mirror at themselves going, what the hell's wrong with me? And it happens all the time. I go, did you ever think that maybe, this, that, or this situation is the problem? Maybe it's not you at all. Maybe it's this. I never really thought about that. No, because we're in the habit of just, going on, doubting ourselves and questioning ourselves. We're not actually questioning what's actually going on. People are suffering when they don't need to. And it's created this poor me and a victim mentality. And that's not a great way to live. Listen, we all go through difficult times. I was a victim when I was young. I went through a very, brutal, abusive, traumatic childhood. I was definitely a victim. And I carried around a poor me victim mentality for most of my life. until I woke up one day. I go, this isn't working for me. I mean, this is just not right. And I finally started taking a look around as to, okay, what's going on? What am I thinking? What do I believe? Who am I listening to? Who am I following? I started to ask some pretty serious questions. And then when I got a bit of information together, I go, well, no wonder I'm friggin' struggling. And I just made my mind up that I was done with that, And so we gotta end that. And then what happens is people lose hope, or they doubt what's possible. So maybe you've lost hope, or you've questioned yourself, and you doubt what's actually possible for you. And I think that's just plain wrong. If you keep operating with the same habits, the way that you're going about trying to get ahead, or just to try to get by, if you keep operating with the same habits, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And if you're really reacting a lot to what's going on around you, and life is controlling you, and you're not in control of your life, it's probably only going to get worse before it actually gets better. So rather than feeling out of control, why don't you take control of your life? And then that way you wake up, each day motivated by the prospects of your future, and you go from struggling to succeeding, and you don't have to worry about what your future looks like. Now, listen, I'm an authority on this. I get what struggle is all about. I struggled for most of my life. As I mentioned, I started out life really, really hard, endured some pretty terrible things. And then, 13 through 15, went through 2 years of sexual abuse, which was really kind of the pinnacle of all the trauma. And then I turned to drugs and alcohol, and I really struggled until I was around 23, 24, quit all that, got into business, went bankrupt, and then just try to figure it out from there. And so it took me from 25 to 50 years old, trying to figure this all out. I did well financially, but in many other areas of my life, I struggled. I certainly struggled inside. And I made it really, really difficult, and I made it really hard. I thought it was really complicated. I was searching all over the place for the answers. I was searching in the wrong place. Actually, I should have been searching inside rather than searching outside. And that's really what I do. I've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people around the world change their life by following a few simple rules so they can win at the game of life. Life is a game, and it operates according to laws of nature. And we got to play by the rules. And we also have to understand why we're doing what we're doing and why we're not doing what we're doing. And when we understand that, then things can change in your life. And so what I want to do for the next little bit here is I want to tell you the truth about getting the results, because I get really frustrated when I see some of the things that people are saying and doing. I get concerned when people are following a certain path when it's not really the right path for them. And I think, again, with the advent of social media and the internet and smartphones that aren't all that smart, we're bombarded with information. It's very difficult to disseminate it and sort it out. And so I just want to give you, some really key points here. Number one, you have to have a definite purpose in life. Okay. You have to have a crystal clear picture on where you are going. And the reason for that is because you were designed with a purpose in mind by your creator, and you've been gifted with all the talents and abilities and the gift of an automatic built-in success mechanism, right? Your mind is an automatic goal-seeking mechanism. If you provide it with a goal or a definite purpose, right, it will direct your brain and nervous system. It'll direct you, if you use it properly, to get to where you want to go. And so this gift of yours, your mind, it operates by certain rules. And as I said, it directs your brain and nervous system. So that's why a lot of people don't understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling, right? They are directing their thinking, their brain, and their nervous system, which determines how they feel physically. And so a lot of people are struggling and feeling like they're struggling in their day-to-day life because they're not operating by the rules. Number one, they don't have a definite purpose. They don't know where they're going. They're not aspiring to be anything. But then I meet a lot of people that have goals that are aspiring, and that leads to another one of the problems that we have. And so the fourth thing is that your upbringing and conditioning and the outside world are constant distractions that keeps you drifting away from your purpose, right? So when you were little, you were programmed by your parents, you were conditioned to believe certain things, follow certain rules, values, and beliefs. You were rewarded if you were good, you were punished if you were bad. You set up in your own mind this idea that you're not good enough, or you started judging yourself, or you started criticizing yourself. You took over what the adults were doing, and you just started operating that way. And then, of course, at the same time, you were taught to worry about what other people were thinking and what's going on around you. And so you might wake up today and you go, this is where I'm going. Like, I want to change my life. I want to do this. And that's what I was doing. I get up and one day I'd be on and the next day I'd be off. And then for a few days I'm on. And then for the next month I'm down. And I was up and down and up and down. I was up and down like a toilet seat. My friends called me Dougie up and down. I just couldn't seem to get ahead. And what I realized was I didn't really have a crystal clear purpose. I hadn't defined, what my purpose was. And we all are destined for a purpose, and we have to be moving towards that. But even if you have that, even as you're moving towards that, you get all these distractions on the outside and on the inside. The inside is your programming, your opinion of yourself, and the contradictions that you have inside relative to what you want to do on the outside. And then, of course, we've got all these influences, friends, family, acquaintances, the news, social media. And so it's very easy to get distracted. And our mind operates a certain way. Like I said, it's goal oriented, right? Now, the way that it directs your brain and nervous system is whatever you're thinking about, that's where it goes. So if you're thinking about, stuff from the past and, a low opinion of yourself or mistakes you've made or anything like that, that's where it heads. If you're worried about the future, that's where it heads. What we got to do is we got to stay focused on what we want to do and where we want to go, what our purpose is. Number 5, your habits rule you, and they're hard to change because you don't actually understand habits, nor do you have the time to learn how to change them. And so we're very habitual in everything we do, and very few people understand how to change habit and create habits that stick, habits that are goal oriented, or habits that are moving you towards your definite purpose. And there's all kinds of great books on habits, or he's talking about habits, but you can't even keep up with the habit of reading the book to change the habit. And so we have to understand actually how simple it is to actually form habits. It's only been hard because of the way that you've been approaching it. It's actually not hard to form positive habits that stick. You just learned the way you learned to do it, and you've made it hard. So one of the things we got to do is we have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we got to learn what we've learned, and then we unlearn what we've learned, and then we replace it by relearning the right rules and the truth about getting results. Number 6, you were brought up with a poor image or opinion of yourself, and you may have a distorted view of your talents and gifts. Now, I had a real distorted image of myself because I went through a pretty difficult situation, and of course, the result of all that, childhood trauma and abuse, you grow up thinking there's something wrong with you. And you grew up with, low self-esteem and low opinion of yourself and a failure type personality. I was failing a lot over and over, kept making the same mistakes over and over, trying to get it right. But maybe you were actually brought up, in a good situation with a good family, but you still would have a distorted, limited view on your potential, because your parents, they didn't really know you. Very few people know themselves, so how can their parents actually know them? And they just directed you the way they knew how, with what they had. They did their best, and that's all they could give you was their best. And there's a lot more to you than that, and you're capable of a lot more. You'll never reach your limits, so don't doubt them. You'll never reach your limits, so don't doubt them. But you might have just a mistake. I call it mistaken identity. You might have a distorted identity of who you really are and what you're truly capable of. And so, the bottom line is the truth about getting results is actually, it's quite simple. We got to get back to the basics. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, I've been studying a lot of this information. And for 25 years, I've been pursuing the secrets of success. I mean, it started with this book here, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I went to a lot of seminars. I read a lot of books. I went through a lot of therapy and counseling. I mean, I am a real serious student, a real scientist. Like, I really wanted to understand this, and specifically understand what the hell was wrong with me, because I didn't like how I was feeling. And as I went through all those years, it really took me up until 2014, 2015, when I started to study something different. I started to follow some old information that was new to me. And if you go back in time to the early 1900s, pre-war, pre-commercialism, around the early 50s and such, actually the science of the mind it was all out there. It was all available to all of us, but the world and our culture went down a different road. It went down a different path around psychology and mental health, and therapy showed up, and pills showed up, and all these different things showed up, and we went a different direction. And the science of mind actually got lost. My mentor, Bob Proctor, he was in a movie called The Secret. Many of you have probably heard that, and there is no actual secret. His mentor, Earl Nightingale, had a record called The Strangest Secret. He said, what's strange is that very few people know the secret. And so we got to get back to the basics. If you want to be successful and you want to improve your results, we got to get back to when things were simpler. Life was simpler, time was simpler, and understanding how to become successful was actually simpler. And so when I discovered that, I go, man, oh man, I wasted so much time. I struggled so much. I made it so hard. I thought it was so complicated. And now I'm just on a mission to break it down. Like my mentor, Bob, did for me. Bob had the gift of making this so simple that a 10-year-old can understand it. In fact, we have clients that are younger than 10 years old that are understanding this information. And that's really important. We got to get back to the basics. You've got to take control of your thinking rather than being controlled by the outside world. Now, that may seem like a fantasy to you, or that may seem like it could be hard. You think it's hard because it feels hard because of the way that you've been operating. But if you understand, how your mind directs your brain and nervous system, and you get some guidance on somebody that can explain how the machine works quite simply, so you can understand it quite quickly, then you can start taking control of your thinking, which really takes control of how you feel. So, I got a bit of a slap in the face, a number of years back when my mentor said to me that, Doug, this is all your fault. And I looked at him, I go, what do you mean it's all my fault? He said, it's all your fault. He said, you're the one that's causing all your pain and suffering and all of your mistakes. And now that was a hard pill for me to swallow, but he was right. And I did swallow the pill, and that just brought me some personal power. I took responsibility for my life, and I just refused to be a victim of any kind. And so take control of your thinking rather than being controlled, and realize that this is actually quite simple. I'm going to show you a simple little couple slides here that will explain what's actually going on for you. And when you see it, it's not complicated. It's really quite simple. And so can you accept the idea that this could be simple and the success is not all that hard or all that elusive. Maybe you've just been going about it the wrong way, or maybe you've just been going down the wrong road. And so what you got to do is you got to start doing certain things a certain way. And like I said earlier, life is a game and there's rules. And if you want to win at the game of life, you got to follow the rules. And it's the laws of nature and the laws of how your mind works, how the science of your mind works and directs your brain, your nervous system, your actions. If you understand that, and it's not complicated, I'm telling you, it only appeared complicated to me because I thought it had to be more complicated. I was making it complicated, it's Bob always said, it's so simple, yet it's so misunderstood. And my own upbringing, my own conditioning, my own experience, my own results, my own opinions, we're actually making it quite difficult. So let me just show you really quick. I just want to show you a couple slides here that explains why you're getting the results that you're getting. So if any of you have ever followed Bob Proctor, the Proctor Gallagher Institute, you've seen this diagram, but don't disconnect or end the call or not pay attention. Just because you've seen this doesn't mean that you understand it, all right? If you haven't seen this before, this is just simply a simple visual model of how your mind works. We call it the stick person. And Bob got introduced to this a long, long time ago. And he had become successful, but didn't know how he'd become successful. And so this really quickly explained how he was getting the results he was getting so fast, right? And so this little circle, or this little stick person, this big circle represents your mind, not your brain, but your mind, okay? Your brain is actually part of your physical body. And it's your mind that dictates or controls your brain and your nervous system. And so there's two parts to your mind, two basic parts. Your conscious mind, your ability, your intellect, your ability to think, okay? And then we have your emotional mind, or what's called your subconscious mind. And that basically directs everything that you do, how you feel, the actions you take, and whatever results you're getting, whether they're positive or negative, okay? We have 5 senses that are hooked up to our mind. And so that's how we generally take in most of our information, through our 5 senses. That's the way we were taught to live. And so one of our problems is we're just in the habit of living from the outside, meaning that we just pay attention to what's going on, that we're taking in through our 5 senses. And we never really pay attention to what's going on at the subconscious level. And so that's the thinking part of your mind, and that's the feeling part of your mind. And that causes you to move into action, which causes you to get the results that you're getting. You were programmed, as I said, at a very young age, when you were little, and you were just had information drilled into you, ideas, rules, values, belief, and it created what's called a paradigm, or a mental program, or just basically your view on you and your outside world. And that's what actually controls you, right? So it's not your intellect that controls you, although that plays a part in it. It's really what's going on at the subconscious level. It's this mental program. That's what's running this thing. That's what's causing you to do what you do. And so we call it the knowing doing gap. You could be doing better. There's things you should be doing that you're not. There's things that you are doing you shouldn't be doing, but you're doing them anyway. And so this knowing doing gap is, I know what to do at this level. I know I should have done that, darn it. I know I could be doing better. I know that I got to form those habits. I know, but that's not the doing part that directs your brain and nervous system. This is the doing part of your mind. This is what's directing your brain and nervous system. This is why you're getting the results that you're getting. And so we need to close that knowing doing gap if we want to change our results, which changes our actions and changes the results we end up with. Okay. And so our problem is that we look at this. We just focus on what's going on. We focus on what's gone on in the past. We focus on our current situation, our current problems, our bank account, our relationships. We look in the mirror, our body, and all we do is we focus on our results. That's what we pay attention to. That's what we think about. That causes more thoughts, more feelings, and just gets this body doing the exact same thing. And that's why you just keep getting the same results over and over and over again. And so if you want to change the results you're getting, you're going to have to change it at a subconscious level. We got to focus our time thinking about what we want and really paying attention to our purpose and our goals and what we really want. And we have to learn and train ourselves to ignore the outside distractions, like I mentioned earlier, and ignore the internal distractions of this mental program or this opinion of ourselves that are telling us we can't do what we want to do. Now, this diagram, these few slides, they're so simple and we understand it. Like you get this on an intellectual level, but it's contradictory to your paradigm or the way you were taught to think. And so you have a hard time accepting it. But that's basically it. Okay. Here's the truth. The only way to get better results is you're going to have to change the mental program. You're going to have to switch it out. Okay. You're going to have to upgrade the current operating system to a new operating system. If you keep operating with the same mental program, you're going to get the same results. It's your mind is like it's like a guidance missile or a torpedo or an autopilot on a plane, right? It's programmed to operate a certain way and go in a certain direction. And if you don't, change the program, it's just going to stay on course for the predetermined target. And so we've got to switch out this programming, and that's the only way that actually works. There's a very simple process to do it. The way we've been taught to change is we just keep focusing all of our attention on our results. We look backwards on the past, trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with us. And we look backwards with guilt and resentment. We've been taught to worry about the future. We don't really understand how this machine works, this goal-seeking mechanism that you've been gifted with. And if you can figure out what it is you want, and you start operating this machine properly, your mind will figure out how to get what you want. But the truth is, listen, you can listen to, YouTube videos and calls and classes like this. You can go to seminars, you can buy all kinds of books, all kinds of programs. But the fact is, if you don't change this mental program, nothing's going to change. And so I got fed up trying to figure out why I was still struggling, because I felt I was a fairly intelligent guy, but I just couldn't figure it out. But when I did figure it out, I decided I wanted to create a place where people could come and get the answers that they need. Because I had so many people calling me, or I'd meet people that were struggling, and I'd start talking to them. I go, man, oh man, you're really making this complicated. Like it's really simple. I was on a call with a lady in Europe the other week, and they were really struggling, for a long time. And I just looked at the situation and go, wait a minute, I think you got this all wrong. I think you got yourself all wrong. I think you're going about this all wrong. It's not really complicated. Here's how simple I see it. And you should have seen them on the call. They're going, I go, what's going on? They go, I just feel relieved. Like they felt such relief because they were causing so much pressure for themselves. They were taking on so much pressure from the situation and from others, because they were just going about it all the wrong way. And so I want to create this place where people could come, that I could talk to you. Like I just want to help you get real advice that actually works and really fast track your way to success, rather than spending all this time like I did trying to figure this all out when it's actually quite simple. So what I did is I call it my mentoring center. And I open up I wanted to create a very low cost place where anybody could get access to live conversation with me. And so I'm live in this mentoring center, and we meet, virtually right now, of course. I have people all over the world, and we just meet on Zoom, and I help you. And I've got a real gift that I've developed. I have the ability to get to what's going on for you very quickly. And I also have a gift to be able to change your mind or change your viewpoint or change your perception, and then explain it in a simple way where, like that lady in Europe goes, because it really is simple. You shouldn't be struggling. And so if you want real advice that actually works, that's why I did it. And so just below where you're watching this, there's a little button there that you can click and join my mentoring center. And I created it in a format. It's like literally just like $1 a day. We're doing it for 50% off. You can cancel whenever you want. There's no questions asked whatsoever. I just want to help you make this simple, and so you can get to the success that you're looking for. That way, if you get stuck, you can get unstuck a heck of a lot faster, rather than trying to do it on your own. You can stop waking up, feeling anxious and worried and confused. You're going to feel a lot more confident, and then you're going to understand the rules of life so you can win. So remember, motivation doesn't work if you're going in the wrong direction. All right. Maybe you might get all fired up, watching self-help and personal development, all that stuff, and watching things online, scrolling through social. You might get motivated, you might get inspired, but that's not going to cut it. It's really, really wrong if you're going in the wrong direction. So I just say, if your way's not working, why not try mine? If you want the truth about getting results, you'll get simple, straightforward answers in my mentoring center. So just click the link below and come on inside and let's have a conversation. Check it out. Come to a few of the calls and ask for help and see if I can help you. And if you don't think I can help you, cancel. I'll give you your money back. No questions asked, no obligation. But I want to help people get to the truth about getting results so you get the results that you want. And we make this a lot simpler because it shouldn't be so hard. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for listening. Share the replay